Route 616, your home for all things Marvel main continuity. Hello, everybody. This is RJ here, and we are here with episode 17 of Route 616. Yes, 17 weeks we've been doing this. This is a day later than we normally record, and by we, I am here with Bill and Dan.
Hello.
Hey,
And yeah, no little jab at Dan this week. Well, we'll get one next week though. I'm gonna blame that on being sick today. So, yeah.
I mean, we open up with a story traveling to Dan's 20s, so we've got
Okay.
that.
Oh,
Thank
it's
you.
so cold.
There we go. That
We
covers
start the
it.
day off with you two picking on me already. That's awesome.
Yeah, we all.
Aren't
we
you
all.
glad you made the
The
recording?
jealousy in this podcast is just palatable. Telling you.
We all had some issues come up yesterday, so we decided to move it into today for our recording day. So it's a Saturday episode. Let's go.
Yay!
So our lineup today, we have Fantastic Four number 19 that we're gonna open up with. A favorite story trope of Bill's going to ancient Egypt. Then we have Journey of the Mystery, issue 97, the A and the B stories for that. We have Tales of Suspense, number 46. And we have Tales to Astonish, number 48. Strange Tales, 114, A and B story. Is it B stories this time, I think? Doctor Strange made B story in this one. So, yeah. Perfect. And so we will kick it off with our Fantastic Four, number 19. And if I had my tab open, it would have been nice, but here we are. Prisoners of the Pharaoh is the story title. And this is Stanley and Jack Kirby, of course, inked by Dick Gyers. And George Russo helps Kirby on the cover, Stan Goldberg on colors, and Artie Simic on letters. This is a July 1963 release. It's a 22-page story. I'm sure some of us felt that. And off we go to the races.
I do want to call out an issue with the digital coloring on this one. I'm not sure if it was in the original printing because we both have the Marvel Online version for this, but when they digitally colored it for Marvel Unlimited, it's Johnny with his flames being extinguished, so you can see him through the flames, and whoever colored it forgot to color all the fire on him. So it's just blue and flesh-colored fire. It looks hideous.
Oh my god,
Wow.
that's terrible.
Come to Marvel for all your comic needs.
How is Sue
You know,
like...
someone just used autofill and didn't look at what the actual image was.
Oh, more than likely.
Oh, definitely, because where the flames come off his legs but don't have a bottom, most of those are colored blue too.
You know it's
Cool.
fucked up when Sue is the best drawn character on this cover.
Well, flames can be different colors, guys. I just want to point that out.
I don't think they're ever pasty white guy.
Okay, fair enough. Can't argue with that. Okay, Bill, do it. Come on.
Anyway, time to finally bite the bullet and stop stalling dealing with this fucking issue.
Oh, a few boos from the gallery.
I don't like ancient Egypt stories. I really don't.
And
Anyway,
we keep digging them up.
Yes, it was a fair trope for a while there. Anyway, this story opens with the splash page of the Fantastic Four being confronted by a guy dressed like a pharaoh, pointing a firearm at them. And then we cut to see what's actually happening in the story. And the Fantastic Four are sailing around. Well, the Fantastic Three, minus Ben, are flying around in the Fantastic Car looking for Ben. And they can't figure out where he is. So their best idea is to have Reed peer through Alicia's bedroom window and see what's going on in there. And no, that's not me making something up. They actually have him peeking through her windows.
Is that bad?
It is if Alicia's home and getting changed. Although I suppose she'll never know something happened.
Yeah.
And Johnny just flies off and goes exploring around. He actually finds Ben on a date with Alicia. walking in the park. And so he immediately butts in and cockblocks Ben and says that Reed needs to talk to him. And so they bring Ben and Alicia back to the Fantastic Four headquarters. And Ben's all grouchy because they interrupted his date.
And he didn't get none.
If he did get some, he'd probably kill her, so that's for the best.
Wow.
But he's all surly that they interrupted his date. And just for Reed to do some science. It wasn't even like a supervillain intervention or so. Until Reed tells him that when they were at the Egypt display at the museum, he saw some weird hieroglyphics. And now apparently Reed can read hieroglyphics. And he realized that it was telling the story about a radioactive herb that can cure blindness.
Good thing they wrote it down.
Yeah. In a language Reed shouldn't be able to read, but...
Yeah, because then every blind person can get cured.
Of course. But, so they figured they're going to go back to ancient Egypt and get this herb and use it to cure Alicia's blindness. Up to this point, no one has consulted with Alicia as to whether or not she wants her blindness cured, but fortunately she seems to think it's a good idea. And Ben questions how they're going to get back in time, and until Reed reminds him of Dr. Doom's time panel. So they head off to Doom's castle in what will be eventually named Latveria. And they go in and they find the time panel where they left it, and they teach Alicia how to use the controls, which is pretty impressive given that they shouldn't even know how to use the controls. And Alicia zaps them back to ancient Egypt. And so they're looking around a bit when they get attacked by weirdly dressed Egyptian soldiers.
Of course.
Like outside of period norm dressed Egyptian soldiers. And they fight them off for a bit. Quite a bit, actually. It goes on for a couple of pages. I think they had space to fill here. And eventually, some sort of weird ray starts hitting them and causing them to lose their powers. And so they all get captured because they've been depowered and brought before the pharaoh Rama-Tut, whom the history books have strangely omitted.
Oh, he's being a Rama-Tut.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
He's not my favorite villain in any of his forms. Well, one of his forms is my favorite villain, but most of them aren't. And he tells them that he came from way in the future, where everything was peaceful, and he was bored, so he decided the only thing to do was go adventure in the past and take over the world. And so he built a time machine that looked like the Sphinx, and he launched it back into in time, and it crashed, and when it crashed, something from the wreck blinded him. And because he had high technology, he still managed to take over the Egyptian nation. And he set his new slaves to find a cure for his blindness, and they found this herb that had been tainted by the radioactivity from his time machine, giving it mystical properties that cure blindness, and he took that, and it made him see again. And he realized this would be a perfect way to trap and defeat the Fantastic Four, since his plan to control all of time would require them to be eliminated at some point. And so he posted the hieroglyphics talking about the cure for blindness, knowing that in the 20th century they'd see them and come back to get the cure for blindness, using the time machine that belonged to one of his ancestors. Subtle hint there.
Yeah.
And so he laid his trap and they fell right into it. And so now he's got them enslaved. And so he's got Ben working as a galley slave, Reed as a lookout for his armies, and Johnny, in a career he's much more suited to than his normal superheroing gig, court jester. And then his plans for Sue are the ones you would expect for a comic written in the 60s featuring a woman. She's going to be his queen.
Ah, my wife.
There are a lot of guys out there in the comic world who are in love with this woman.
Well, every woman has the same face, so you know you love one, you love them all.
She's the first lady of
Oh.
Marvel.
And they're all permanently under the control of his mind control, right? Until Deus Ex Machina switches and Ben turns back to his human form. And of course, his human form isn't mind controlled because they have a different brain or something. And so he breaks loose from the galley and swims to shore, steals a chariot, and fights off a whole bunch of Egyptians, and busts into Rama-Tut's throne room and steals his zappy gun. And zaps Sue with it just as he starts turning back into the thing. And it frees Sue from the mind control, but he becomes mind controlled again because he's back to being the thing. But now Sue's got the gun. And because she's a woman, I guess she doesn't know how to use it.
Bloody woman.
Oh.
Well,
Oh.
Ben used it instantly, and then she's got it, and she's not doing anything with it. And Rama-Tut's like, "Give me that ray gun, woman. It won't help you. I'll seize it before you can learn how to operate it." And he tries to seize it, and she deals with it by turning invisible. But her gown and slippers and headdress aren't made from the unstable molecules that Reed makes their uniforms out of. So, of course, the clothes stay visible. And now, this isn't a 90s comic, so they don't use the obvious solution. But instead, before he can capture her by following the
Moving
dress
clothing.
that's running around the throne room, she zaps Johnny with the gun, frees him, so he traps Rama-Tut in a ring of fire. But there's a secret panel in the wall behind him, so he escapes through that.
Oh, my dear Lord.
Yeah, I told you this isn't good.
What are you talking about? This is great.
And while he's escaping, Sue zaps Ben, frees him, and then they go and fight their way through some more of the army, and steal some camels, and go off to where the army's attacking another city, and they've got Reed serving as a shield for arrows. And they zap Reed, and so Reed regains his memories, and they all head back to, I guess it's supposed to be Cairo? They don't really identify what city Rama-Tut's in. It's either Cairo or Giza, depending on how... I guess it's actually Giza, because they have a tunnel that leads right to the Sphinx, which Rama-Tut has escaped through, so they chase him through the tunnel, and they get up into the Sphinx and start searching for him. And I realized that most of the Sphinx is just an empty shell, and the actual time machine is a much smaller pod. And Rama-Tut is hiding in it, and he starts flooding most of the Sphinx. And so Johnny burns the valve that the water's coming out so that it's sealed off before they all drown. And Reed starts crawling through the guts of the time machine looking for him. And Ben just starts bashing down walls. And they find the little pod that Rama-Tut's in, but he just blasts off out of there and heads to another time period.
Got a blast.
And they find the radioactive anti-blindness herb just lying around. So they take that, and they get
sure
out
do.
of the Sphinx, just as Rama-Tut blows up the contents, hiding the fact that it was ever a high-tech device, so it just looks like it's made out of rock or something. And just then, the time platform appears, and Alicia zaps them back to the present, and they use the herb on her. But oh shit, the radioactive curative properties couldn't travel through time.
Well, how could
And
you not
so
have
it
known
does
that?
absolutely nothing, and this whole story accomplishes nothing except setting up someone that will become a more prominent villain in their past, our future. Oh yes, and Ryan has just reminded me, the Mystic Herb actually had optic nerve restorative in English written on the container.
Yeah, in a nice big giant pill capsule is what it looks like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that could be one of those Egyptian burial urns, so that's not the bad part of that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And the story ends with the tease that next month they meet the threat of the Molecule Man, so we don't have to read that comic either.
Oh wait, what? We skipping comics now?
Wow.
Oh, what a great issue of Fantastic
I know.
Four.
It was just awesome. Oh my God. It's probably the best they've ever done.
I actually did, man. I still gave it a 3.
I gave it a 2 because it is better than the Iron Man Ancient Egypt story.
See, I gave that one a 2, so.
It's really bad, and recapping it made me realize that it's even worse than it was when I read it.
Honestly, for the half of your synopsis I heard and looking through it again, there's definitely an argument that it could be a 2-star for sure, so I'm not going to judge you for that one. Technically, I'm actually the one on the right here in terms of average. It has a 3.05 star average on the site.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, the action scenes are fine.
I thought it started out really strong. It just kind of collapsed in on itself.
Yeah.
It's
It
like
has-
they had a great idea and didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah, and I can't really fault people for giving it a 3 either. Like, I know this story I punished because I don't like the going back to ancient Egypt trope.
Well, joke's on you, they went forward to ancient Egypt.
No, this is back in time.
No, there's a plot point where they address it. I have it in my notes. I
Are
don't know
you
where.
sure? I've read this twice, and I don't recall it ever mentioning
pretty
that it was
sure.
ahead in time. Rama-Tut came from the future, but then he went back to ancient Egypt and
Maybe
deposited
that
the
must be
Sphinx.
what it is then.
Yeah, because the Sphinx is his time machine, but it has to be the past because the Sphinx exists now.
That's probably what it is. I don't know. I haven't read this in a while. It was in my notes. I might have gotten confused.
Yeah,
at
I
one
think
of
you
their
got confused
word
there
bubbles.
because they're definitely claiming that he's the reason the Sphinx exists. And it existed in 1962, so it has to be earlier than that.
I do love that. Rama-Tut just hates peace.
Yeah.
That's like his whole.
Well, they use
his
that
whole
with
thing.
I don't like
older
peas either.
time-traveling Fantastic Four / Avengers villains for some reason that doesn't get brought up yet.
I couldn't believe.
If you're not aware of what I'm hinting at, Rama-Tut and Kang are the same person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And possibly Doom as well.
Obviously,
It's
you were
never
talking about the
100%
Tomorrow Man.
clear, but Doom is
Doom is a relative.
either an ancestor of or actually a different part of the same person's life of Kang and Rama-Tut.
He's supposed to technically be an ancestor.
That's established here, but when the three
It's
of them...
established here and in modern comics that I've
Okay,
read.
because when the three of them all meet up, Doom leaves the meeting believing they're incarnations of him.
Okay, interesting.
So they must have played around with the idea that he was also them, and then dropped it at some point where I haven't read it yet, because they stopped using all those characters in the late 60s and haven't really gone back to them until the point where I am, and then I know they bring them back in modern times, but...
Yeah, I could easily see them doing that, to be fair. They probably did want to play around with Doom being a part of the game shit for a while. I mean, he's pretty much Uncle Doom in terms of modern stuff.
Yeah, I would say this story could almost be a 3, but this
that's high
penchant
for
for
you.
trying to make Sue everybody's queen is already starting to get annoying.
Yeah, it's...
And I'm sure it's not going to get better as we move along, so I wouldn't give it more than a 2.
I think they actually give up on that idea relatively quick, because we're really close to when they actually figure out how to make Sue an equal member of the team.
Well,
Like,
there also is more women introduced at some point.
Yeah,
So.
I think it's the next issue or the issue after where she gets her force fields.
Yeah,
Don't worry, buddy. Everybody's gonna be simping for Jean Grey.
Yeah, it's going to, the more egregious misogyny is rapidly going to shift over to Jean.
That's great. That's great.
can't wait, right?
And I mean, I've been kind of giving a lot of the misogyny in this a pass because of the time, and that's just how they wrote women back then, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's certain stuff you gotta ignore to an extent reading these old comics.
Yeah, like I gave this a 2. The treatment of Sue, well, reprehensible, wasn't the reason I gave it a 2.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe I opened this comic and Reed was actually sticking to his word and trying to cure the blindness of Alicia.
Reed's only an occasional dick. He usually has his heart in the right place and just goes about it with no concern for the feelings of anyone else.
Yeah, I know.
Which definitely happens in here, because he decides he's going to cure Alicia and at no point asks her if she wants to be cured.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Well, on we go to Journey in the Mystery 97, the A story, which is called The Lava Man. I can't believe you got me with that, you motherfucker.
Yeah.
With Stanley and Jack Kirby.
This was your wasp joke moment.
Don Heck is the inker here, and of course helps Kirby on the cover because the inking, and then letterer is Artie Simic. This August 1963 release, a 13-page story, and have fun, Dan.
Oh, thank you so much.
It's actually not that bad. This
isn't bad at all.
This is actually pretty good.
Okay, we will see.
It's surprisingly good.
So for everybody listening, here is the synopsis for The Lava Man. Okay, it starts with, after saving a jet pilot, Thor returns to his office as Dr. Don Blake to speak to his nurse, Jane Foster. He wants to confess his love for her, but realizes he cannot unless he also reveals his identity as Thor. Somebody explain that shit to me. So he goes...
Yeah, I was going to make a dig about because Spider-Man had to tell Mary Jane so early on that he was Spider-Man.
No, he just wanted another reason to whine at her. It's something that's superhero. Nobody loves Spider-Man. Feel sorry for me. Okay.
Why did your Spider-Man impression sound like a Valley Girl from the 90s?
Because he sounds like a Valley Girl from the 90s. So...
I want to know what Spider-Man comics you're reading.
Oh, God. You really, really, really think I would lower myself to read a Spider-Man comic? Seriously?
Read a Miles one. Those are good.
I thought you knew me. Okay. Anyway, so Thor, Don, Blakey boy, goes to Odin to ask permission. And Odin says, fuck you. Right. And so... Thor's very upset and goes to Spider-Man. They sit there and have a whiny convention. Anyway.
I mean, I gotta cut you off because Odin basically does say fuck you.
Well, yeah.
His exact response is, have you taken leave of your senses? The Thunder God marrying a mortal? It's impossible. Petition refused. And then he just hangs up on Thor.
Yep. Click. Right. Because Thor called him on his cell phone.
Well, on a rainstorm, but still.
Oh, okay. As news of the approaching Lava Man, wow, how do we go from, he asks Odin and Odin says piss off, to suddenly, as news of the approaching Lava Man spreads through the city.
Don't worry, your synopsis didn't cut anything. It's literally the next panel. People are reading the newspaper about menace from the volcano identified as Lava Man. Havoc widespread. Rally troops to stop Lava Man. It's literally the next panel.
So that's how Thor is for the next little while. It's half a romance comic, half, this is a superhero comic. Let's get some action in here.
They're trying to do two things with half as much space as they need to do one properly.
Okay, well, they had too much space to do the first one. So anyway, Loki... watching from Asgard, see, you can't stop me. I'm going to plow right through this. Laughs because it was he who released the volcanic future. Meanwhile, Jane informs Blake that she is leaving and taking a job elsewhere because he's such a simp. Anyway, she cannot remain where her feelings are rejected. Forbidden by Odin, Blake is unable to stop her. Wow. Really? So what's the point in turning back into a normal human if you're not going to be a normal human?
Because this is the era where they love the love triangle.
Oh, my God. It's a good thing I missed lunch. So now all I suffer is the dry heaves. As the Lava Man finally reaches the city, he claims the city for his Lava Men tribe. God, it's like a freaking soap commercial. But Thor appears ready to stop him. Bum, bum, bum. Then the Lava Man melts his way into the tunnels underground and causes geyser eruptions all around Thor. But the Thunder God uses his thrown hammer to drive the Lava Man back above ground. Clever. The Lava Man encases Thor in lava, but he is able to break free by summoning a lightning blast from his hammer. Okay, they're not exactly original. When the Lava Man converts himself into a pillar of stone to try and crush Thor, Thor conjures a whirlwind with his hammer and sweeps the Lava Man to a distant volcano and drops him in. Okay. He then seals the top to imprison the Lava Man and end his threat. You got to be freaking kidding me. That's the whole thing?
That's the whole thing.
How many pages?
13.
It's a 13-page story that they're trying to do like 30 pages of story in.
Oh, wow, boy. Yeah, man, because it's just jam-packed. Back at his office as Don Blake, he finds Jane and her new employer, Dr. Bruce Andrews, waiting for him. She is angry that while the Lava Man was menacing the area, Blake had not even bothered to check on her safety. Oh, no. She leaves with Dr. Andrews as Blake laments that Thor must live out his days alone. Yeah, you really do, Blake, because you're a loser. Oh, my God.
Two things.
Loser.
Two things. One, apparently Jane expected this man she cares about, who walks with a severe limp and requires a cane, to go out on the street while the army is fighting with like some sort of supernatural fire monster, and walk to her house and check on her.
Wow, being a little judgy there, buddy.
And two, want to guess how long it's going to be before Jane's back working for Don Blake?
Oh, at least 2
Are you
panels.
going to give that away now?
Maybe, no, you know what? I'll say 5 panels.
We'll see next issue.
Stay tuned,
you're
people.
on pace
It's
with,
going to get
you're-
exciting.
You're on pace with the fact that it's literally next issue that she's back.
Yeah, but how many panels?
I don't remember. I haven't read the new
Honestly,
next one for like
the next
2
story
pages.
is
it
a
might
2
be the first or second page in that story.
Or we will see that.
I'm pretty sure the next story is a 2-pager, and she actually returned. Oh no, it might be the end of the next issue.
I'm pretty sure they just forgot about Dr. Andrews, but it's been a while since I remember.
He appears
that
in
one.
another issue or two.
Yeah, but it's a while later. I think she's just back working with him.
No, he's back the next time.
Okay.
That was just. I freely admit that the Thor stories are not that good. This whole Don Blake routine is irritating as stink.
I don't understand the Don Blake dynamic still fully.
That's because it doesn't work.
Well,
it's an attempt to do a superhero trope that this story doesn't work with.
Yeah, it's just a standard trope that they would do with every superhero automatically. Because if you turn and say, I'm going to create a superhero, you automatically do the whole, I wonder what his alter ego is going to be.
Yeah, exactly. And Thor doesn't need that alter ego, but they're trying desperately to make it work.
Is what he needs.
Yeah.
And Taika
I will
Waititi
say
is
this
not
story reads better than it summarizes.
Oh, I could only hope, because the summary is just lame.
I gave it to the right person.
Oh, you did? Because it's like from what I read in the summary, it's really, really tedious. Although to be entirely fair, this unrequited love routine is part of what bugs me. I really find that irritating in comic books. Right. It's okay if you're doing a film like Princess Bride, but not this. This is supposed to be a superhero comic, not an issue of Carlton's, true love.
Yeah. With me, it doesn't bother me in any one comic. It bugs me because they do it in so many of them at the same time.
They do.
Like if it was just Don Blake and no other heroes were having that issue.
Well, Ant-Man.
It wouldn't really bother me, but they've got it with Ant-Man, except creepier. They've got it with Spider-Man. They've got it with...
Okay,
starting
okay.
to bring it in with Iron Man.
Okay, I can see it with Spider-Man, and you're gonna.
Yeah.
I can because he's a whiny little bitch. So of course no woman wants to be with him. It's a given. You got some babe like Mary Jane Sue or whatever the hell her name is, right? Of course she's not going to go out with him. All he does is sit there and feel sorry for himself. Who wants to be with a guy like that?
Which is
And his
hilarious because
superpower is spider. I mean, ew.
it's hilarious you say that because Mary Jane's is actually his third steady girlfriend in the comics.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
Two
find that hard
other-
to believe.
Successful, attractive women date him before her.
To be fair, some people do hint that maybe there's some pheromones that have
The Spider-Man?
some pheromones give Spider-Man an advantage possibly, but
Oh, it would have to, because like in real life, Mary Jane would totally never go out with a loser like that. I'm sorry. She just wouldn't.
You're probably actually right about that.
yeah.
And ignore the whole Zendaya, Tom, whatever his name is, in real life thing, okay? Because
See, I
clearly
find
he
his
hypnotized.
Zendaya, Tom or Hollingsworth version of Peter Parker romance more believable than some of the other ones. Especially Mary Jane at the start, because she was originally just brought in as a Steve Ditko spite moment.
I can
Yeah.
believe it more than some of the other ones, especially,
Because they had a
Especially the other
running date.
ones.
They had a running joke for a while where Aunt May and Mary Jane's mother were trying to hook the two of them up. And they never hooked up. They kept missing each other, and you never even saw Mary Jane's face.
Oh,
And it was a running joke towards the end of the Ditko run. And in the instant Ditko was off the book, you see Mary Jane's face, like the first issue, and they hook up. And so the whole thing was just a giant middle finger to Ditko.
oh, that was
Way-
sweet of them.
way
Because Stan
more-
Lee would never do that.
God, no, he's never petty.
No.
way more. Their coupling's way more believable than say the Peter Parker Gwen Stacy couple of the Amazing movies, where they were also a couple in real life.
Okay, so can we just flush the toilet?
Yeah, let's
Go on
get
to the
back
next
onto
story?
Journey.
Journey and Mystery. Oh, we didn't give
Done.
our star ratings.
We
I was
haven't
going to
given
move
our
on to the B
ratings.
story. I gave it a 3.
I also
You
gave it a
what?
3. Like I said, this reads
are you
much
guys
better than
on?
it summarizes.
What are you guys smoking?
The drug of life.
Wow.
The
3?
The site rating is 2.95. Like, we're not off on this one. It just,
If it-
like I
Lava Man-
said, it reads way better than it summarizes. It's actually, it flows pretty well.
It flows like lava.
Lava Man surprisingly works.
Yeah. Lava Man, I really enjoyed, even though he's only on like 5 pages.
Uh-huh.
I'm glad we no-sold that bullshit.
Okay, can we just, like I say, just flush the toilet, let this little turd disappear, and let's move on to the next story.
Moving on to the B story, which is only 5 pages. So, Home of the Mighty Norse Gods is the
No,
story
oh,
title.
hold on, you said that wrong. It's Tales of Asgard, home of the mighty Norse gods.
Well, Tales of Asgard is the series title.
Yes, well, you got to include that, or nobody's going to know what the hell you're talking about.
This is the start
This
of
could
the
be a
Tales of
timeline
Asgard backup
documentary
stories.
for all you know.
Yeah.
This one's inked by George Russo's, by the way.
Yes, or
Good
as
old
he's
George.
noted on the time, Geo Bell, because he's working for boat companies.
Good old George. We miss George. How's George
Yeah.
doing, do you think?
Well, his inking's actually really good on this.
Excellent, excellent. I'm glad to hear it.
This should go pretty quickly because it's not really a story. It's a setup of the Norse cosmology and origin story. Like, they're setting up the Norse origin of the world. So it opens, they talk about the harsh climate and the Norse people who were savage raiders and hardy farmers and brave sailors. And they describe their cosmology with the design of the earth and start talking about the other realms where we have, they talk about at the fire demon at the world's end, Surtur, who
Balrog.
will come back and actually become a prominent Thor villain. And then they talk about the Well of Life that leads into a realm of ice, which is ruled over by Ymir and the Frost Giants, another future Thor villain. And Ymir has this giant magic cow that travels around with him,
Yeah.
and its milk provides his nourishment. And one day the cow found something in the ice, and they dug it out, and it's the first of the Aesir. Because at this point, they're not just calling them Asgardians, they're actually trying to tell proper Norse mythology. And so he is Buri. And Buri grows up and takes a wife, and they have a son named Bor. And then years later, Bor has sons of his own, one of which was named Odin, who becomes the leader of the gods. And next issue, we will learn about Odin's battle with the evil ice giants.
Yeehaw, partner.
So this story is 100% set up. They don't tell any story. It's just establishing basically the Norse view of how cosmology worked. And it's excellent. They don't try to do too much for the page count. The art is gorgeous. And it leaves you wanting to read the next story.
It's cool. I like it. I do.
Yeah, this was 3 stars.
Well, I like the fact that they had the balls to do something non-Christian. Just, introduce it to a lot of people who probably have never been exposed to this sort of thing.
Yeah, it starts as an attempt to tell actual Norse mythology, and at some point shifts to tales of young Thor, and both of them work excellently.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh, Thor. Sorry, wrong young.
I knew what you were going for there.
Yeah. Incidentally, Ryan, there was a series way back when called Young Indiana Jones.
Whoa.
I know. It's shocking, isn't it?
If you like indie, it's actually not a bad watch either.
It is a fun show. I was surprised it didn't last. Of course,
I'm not surprised it didn't last.
I am.
Because I remember at the time no one watched it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that people discovered on DVD later and realized was really good.
Yeah. To be fair, Relic Hunter never lasted, and I enjoyed that immensely.
I think you enjoyed that for a different reason.
It had nothing to do with Bach woman, titty woman there. What the hell was her name? Catherine Bach. Yeah, it had nothing to do with her. It was actually a really funny show.
I've never seen an episode, so all my knowledge of it comes from the ads they used to run on CTV.
It was so much fun. It was very silly, very fun, pretty formulaic, but they utilized a lot of locations in Canada, including Grand Pré. They actually have an episode that takes place in Grand Pré.
Ooh, yeah. I kind of want to watch that episode now just to see what they did.
It was really, really good. As much because they delve into a lot of histories around the world. I mean, some of it's pretty fantastical, some of what they call historical. But like I say, they deal with some nuns in a convent in Nova Scotia, and stuff like that. And it was just like so much fun. So there's my plug for Relic Hunter, just in case anybody finds it on DVD. It's really worth watching. It's just a giggle and a half. And you want a strong woman character? You're going to get it in the show. You really are.
That's good because you won't get it in this podcast series.
No,
right
not for a while.
I'm sorry, but I'm getting a little tired of the whole controversy over the changes that people are whining about in sort of modern pop culture. And it's like, you keep talking about, we finally got a strong woman. It's like, you guys want to kind of cast your eyes backwards a little bit past last week. There have been strong women characters out there for a very long time, and you guys are ignoring them. It didn't all start with Wonder Woman's movie, right? There have been strong women characters out there for a long, long time. Right. So, anyway.
Yeah, and sometimes people become deranged right-wingers because a strong woman character that spun off their show is way more successful.
Yeah.
Kevin Sorbo.
Yeah, that's right, Kevin Sorbo. I mean, but again, you know what? That's a perfect point, actually, because Xena, what was that? That was the 80s, wasn't it?
Early 90s.
Early 90s. And I mean, that was a fun show. It was very
Yeah,
silly, but it
and
was fun.
the Hercules show it spun off of was terrible, and no one liked it.
So bad. So was
But
the
strangely,
Tin Man
Lucy Lawless
spin-off.
could actually act.
Well, she could act, but they gave her a great show, a great sidekick, everything. But she was a strong woman character, right?
Yeah.
And like I say, Relic Hunter, it's the Catherine Bach who is the lead character, not some guy, right? It's not Indiana Jones. It's actually a female archaeologist who has all this fun and these adventures and everything. And she's smart.
Let's be
She's
honest,
charming.
she's Indiana Jones.
Well, yeah, she's no, actually, you know what? In a lot of ways, she's far superior to Indiana Jones, in my opinion. You've got to watch this show. I can't believe you've never seen it. It's so much fun. Watch the show.
Yes, Dan.
Anyways,
Watch
so
show.
Tales of Asgard's introduction story gets 3 stars from me.
I suppose let's get it over with. Fine. I'll give it 3 stars because I really think it was a nice idea.
It is.
Yeah.
Bill, give us your 4-star rating or whatever it is.
I gave it 3 stars.
Oh, okay. You
I
didn't
said
go
that
higher.
already, Ryan.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, Ryan.
Yeah, Dan went on a tangent about Relic
Sorry.
Hunter, and you forgot.
Sorry.
Well, I mean, yeah, that was like 10 minutes ago or something. So.
Oh no, we brought you in for the tangents, Dan.
Oh, did you?
Most.
I'm not sure how
Yeah,
I feel about
that's
Well,
kinda
then
your-
so that we could torture you with Spider-Man and age jokes.
I was going to say, I have a feeling a lot of this had to do with you guys wanting to torture me with Spider-Man.
Yeah. So character appearances, I haven't actually been talking about them today. Most of the characters in this one actually don't appear till Thor Annual 5, which I'm guessing is a reprinting because they're all there essentially.
I think you're
or-
talking about
or
the
additional.
actual Thor story because
Yeah, the actual Thor series.
I was going to
Thor
say
Annual.
because Tales of Asgard, literally the next issue is Ymir, and the issue after that is Surtur.
Yeah, I
again.
just meant like the side characters, like for the gods.
Oh
that
yeah, the other
don't-
gods are completely irrelevant now, and it's just going to be the Odin stories for the next little bit.
Yeah, exactly. The Lava Man from the first story doesn't appear again until Avengers 6 or something like that. Avengers 5. Okay.
I think he only has one more appearance up to where I've read.
Really? Wow. And then the
It might be a 2-part story, but it's only like one more story that he's in.
and then Rama-Tut doesn't appear next until the second annual of Fantastic Four in a sea story. So
I think that's actually when all 3 of them meet up,
possibly.
because they don't use the Rama-Tut persona a lot early. Thankfully, because I hate it.
You and ancient Egypt. Historic rivalry. Anyway, let's move on to Tales of Suspense number 46. Iron Man faces the Crimson Dynamo. Yay! First appearance of Crimson Dynamo. Let's go. This one is by Stan Lee. Oh, Robert Bernstein's writing. Let's go. That's always
why Tony
great.
is a massive bell end in this one.
That makes sense. Art is by Don Heck. Hell yeah. And we've got Dick Ayers and Jack Kirby doing the cover, and Artie Simic is on letters. July 1963 release. This is only 13 pages. It actually does feel like longer, but not in a bad way. And let's move on. So we open up with a rocket falling to the earth, and Tony, as Iron Man, has got to catch that shit. So we quickly then don't get the resolution of that yet, of course. So we go back in time a little bit, and we get the lead up to how Crimson Dynamo ends up taking on Iron Man. We meet the
It's Khrushchev.
yeah, Mr. Big of the Iron Curtain.
It's just Khrushchev, but they don't want to use the name.
Yeah, and we were introduced here to Ivan Fanko, who of course is Crimson Dynamo, and Fanko quickly shows off his new creation of the Crimson Dynamo armor, and this whole story is about like the theme of the story is like they both are talking about betraying one another to themselves, so like the whole time. But yeah, it's because Fairy Iron Curtain, you can't trust anybody, right? So Fanko shows off the power of his suit of armor and how it reacts to metals and it can destroy metals, and he destroys a mock Iron Man armor like it's nothing. He makes it explode with his magnetic rays or whatever. He shows off some abilities at some point later too, where he can like melt through the armor pretty much. He's got an interesting power set. Well, not power set, interesting set of abilities with his Crimson Dynamo armor. He does make a tank go after. He makes a tank corner Mr. Big, and scares Mr. Big into letting him be a big guy for a mission for the Iron Curtain, and then Mr. Big sends Fanko after Anthony Stark to Stark's stop his weapons contracts with the United States Army. So then a good chunk of this issue is us seeing that Fanko is disrupting and he's disrupting, ruining, and sabotaging all of Tony Stark's current projects, which gets Tony in trouble with the government, and the government threatens to take all his government contracts away because his shit's getting fucked up. They think he's just messing up, possibly on purpose. So they don't realize that it's sabotage, so they're gonna threaten and they're taking his contracts away, possibly. But Tony faces off with Fanko once and is quickly dispelled by Fanko, I believe, and then they come to face a second time, and Fanko is caught off guard when his abilities don't quite work on Tony so easily. Tony, how he wins this battle is he quite simply plays a tape of what he says is a confession from what he says is a confession from Mr. Big at the Iron Curtain or whatever, and it says it's talking about oh, he doesn't go to he traps Fanko and then he goes into the confession. Here he plays the tape. Where does it say here? Oh, talks about sees Fanko when he returns, blah blah. So Fanko's like, well, screw that. I'm turning against the Iron Curtain. I'm not being seized and captured when I go back after this mission. So Fanko's like, fuck this. I'm a decent guy. So yeah, fuck you, Iron Curtain. And then Iron Man reveals to us that wow, that's silly Crimson Dynamo. That was just me talking on the tape, but he thought it was Mr. Big. He thought it was the Russians, but it was just me recording it. So yeah, Tony recorded the tape the whole time. Fanko is a good guy now. Turns against the Iron Curtain, and Mr. Big is having a fit on the last panel, throwing a crystal vase at some guards and upset because what he perceives to be a traitor. And then he says Fanko is now sharing his great knowledge with the accursed Anthony Stark. So
Wow.
Tony Stark wins once again.
You couldn't give me this story. You had to give me the fucking Thor story, didn't you?
Oh, also Tony does give
Bastards.
Fanko a job here, I believe, too.
Yes.
So.
This is a brilliant story that completely balls it up on the last page. The whole thing, first, the thing that impressed me the most, Tony is not the viewpoint character in this story.
Yes.
This story is entirely a Vanko story.
Yes.
We spend 5 pages before we even see Tony with Vanko in Russia, and the whole thing minus a couple of panels to provide the reader with insight about what's going on in others, mostly with Tony being in danger of losing government contracts. The whole thing's told from Vanko's perspective. So that's all great. But then on the last page, trying to write the conclusion, Bernstein completely drops the ball. Because first of all, we've established Vanko as this vicious, selfish, horrible person. And as soon as he finds out that the Russians betrayed him, he becomes a loyal, patriotic American and is going to play nice with Tony and not at all betray him. And that's not me being sarcastic, like literally that's his decision, that he's going to be a good guy and he's going to work with Tony and be a good American. So that's a big mess up with established personality traits. And then the other mistake, the Russians actually were going to betray him and kill him. This is
Yes.
established earlier. But then they have the completely unnecessary complication of Tony faking the signal that is completely believable that he intercepted because it was actually sent by the Russians. And it's like, no, he didn't intercept that one. He just faked his own. But the Russians also actually sent that exact message. And it just needlessly complicates what could have been a good conclusion to the story.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the ending, I actually might have bumped this one up. The ending really does fuck the story up a lot.
Yeah, this would have been a 4-star story without
I
that
agree.
ending.
I think I would have given it a 4 as well without the ending. Because we just revealed we gave this 3 stars, both of us.
Yeah.
I really like this. I'm a big Crimson Dynamo fan, and this is a pretty good appearance, even if they bottle it at the end some. They do make up and do the dynamic better of his of where he lies and his feelings towards everything later on. So I'm excited for his future appearances. Hopefully they're written better pretty fast.
The problem's really just that Robert Bernstein isn't a good writer.
Yeah, that's very true.
That's fair.
Well, no, he's written a lot of terrible stories.
Oh, okay.
He's written most of the most offensive stuff we've read has had his name on it.
Yeah,
at least
this
for recent
story has been good, and the last Iron Man story was good, and he wrote both of them.
Those are
But
his only two decent
everything else
ones.
he's written has been absolute garbage, and so I think that in this case, probably the good came from Stan or maybe Don. Because
I mean, some good certainly came from Don.
Yeah, Robert Bernstein has definitely demonstrated that he's not this good a writer. And I think that's the problem. Like, another way to Tony lie could have worked, and admittedly they probably couldn't go this route during the Cold War, if the Russians didn't plan to betray him. And Tony just faked the whole thing. That could work too. But because they were the Russians and it was during the Cold War, they had to be evil and traitorous.
Yeah.
And so they set up to betray him, and then Tony also faked the betrayal, and it just muddied everything up when it didn't need to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You covered it there.
There you go.
Thanks. Crimson Dynamo doesn't appear again until issue 52, which is a shame.
I don't
pretty
think
soon.
that's accurate, actually. I believe Crimson Dynamo shows up earlier than that. Oh, no, that's only 6 issues away. Never mind.
Yeah, it's actually not that far. I just haven't gotten to it in my personal read through yet.
Yeah, because there's another Crimson Dynamo
Yes.
that starts showing up really soon. Vanko actually leaves the picture very quickly.
Yeah, and then he comes back at some point, I believe. So yeah, pretty good story, really. I mean, thank God also Khrushchev returns at the same time. But yeah, I guess we'll just move on to Tales to Astonish, issue number 48, The Porcupine.
Oh,
We've
God.
got
On the subject of things that shouldn't work but somehow do.
yes,
Really?
yes. Porcupine is awesome. Porcupine's my boy.
Oh, so you're doing this one?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was tempted to give this one the bill, but I gotta take this one as my boy Porcupine. I'll take the extra story this week. Put in the work for Porcupine. The Porcupine, Stan Lee, Ernie Hart's joining Stan Lee again. So there's a common theme now where Ernie Hart's co-writing Ant-Man stories with Stan Lee, and Bernstein's been co-writing Iron Man. And actually, the issues have kind of been a little better, weirdly, even though Bernstein's like shit and Ernie Hart mischaracterizes.
That's why I think they've both improved lately, because Stan's co-writing with them. The really bad ones, Stan wasn't co-writing. It was just Robert Bernstein or Ernie Hart on their own.
Yeah.
And I don't think either one of them put in the effort to really learn much about the title they were writing on. And so when Stan actually knows what he's trying to accomplish with it and the personalities and stuff, it reins in their worst tendencies, and you actually get some good stuff out of it. It's like Vince McMahon controlling Vince Russo instead of Vince Russo on his own.
Perfect. That's a perfect analogy. So yeah, Don Heck art on this one too, which is fantastic. I love Don Heck. If you guys haven't realized, cover artists are Jack Kirby and Sol Brodsky, and Sam Rosen does the letters. And this is a July 1963 release, a 13-page story, and off we go. Honestly, don't remember much about this one, so just stick with me. But we open up.
So you've
I
read
don't
it
remember
before. and
much
you
of
don't
this
remember.
story. I don't remember much of this story either, and I literally read it Monday.
It's pretty
I
forgettable.
can't wait. This is going to be so much fun.
It's
So
not bad, but it's not really remarkable either. I'll
Okay,
just put that out there
Ryan,
now.
you take a poke at it.
and
Oh, God damn it.
I figured I'd just take a stab in the dark there.
I didn't even realize that was supposed to be a joke until Bill reacted to it.
It was definitely a Porcupine reference.
It
Yeah,
was.
I know. I got it after you reacted, but that's what it took. So it opens up with Hank and Jan, as the Ant-Man and the Wasp, flying above what is an army ordnance plant, which some of the finest inventive brains are below. But they're unaware of exactly what's going on below as we meet a scientist. Is his name given here?
They do give his name early.
I don't think they give it. Where are you?
It
Hello?
doesn't matter.
But anyway, there's the scientist, and he's decided he's gonna make a porcupine suit.
Yeah.
Alex Gentry. It's on the panel with the Porcupine picture.
Alex Gentry, yes.
This shows how many words Ernie Hartwright uses on a panel that we can't find a name in them all.
And it shows just how many words it takes to confuse Ryan.
As
Yes.
the hey, as the what damn, as the porcupine, he is gonna take over the world.
Bum, bum, bum.
He shows off his little pine shooters too at this point, and this is pretty fun. Alex Gentry gets a brilliant idea for his criminal plans as he reads the newspaper that says burglar-proof bank to open. So obviously he's gonna go steal from the burglar-proof bank. Wow, this is great. So
You volunteered for this.
Yeah, Ryan, come on. This was your
Suck it up,
freaking
princess.
idea.
Janet and Hank happen to be on the street to see the grand opening of this burglary-proof bank.
Ooh,
The porcupine
how to show a girl
shows
a good
up in
time.
costume. The porcupine shows up in costume and
With
just
Ben Grimm's
blatantly.
disguise stolen, put on over top.
Yes, he's wearing a trench coat and a hat like he's the fucking thing.
Yeah, it's literally the Thing's trench coat and hat.
and Porcupine starts taking control of the situation. He makes the cops' guns ineffective, and he
Perhaps
just
we should tell people what the Porcupine's actual powers are.
Why?
To make this story make some semblance of sense.
Okay, you go ahead.
He's got a suit completely covered with little
Quills.
blowguns that shoot out various darts that contain substances, such as tear gas or paste that he's stolen from Pete.
How does
Yeah,
he trigger them
glanced-
individually?
It's based on the old belief that porcupines could actually shoot their quills.
Oh,
I glanced over how he shoots pines, but he shoots stuff from his pines more than he shoots substances, and he uses a lot of gases here. He uses one that he makes a huge amount of smoke just come up.
It's tear gas.
It's tear gas, yes, because Jan starts to pass out and she's messed up in this
tear
issue.
gas doesn't knock you out.
Yeah,
well,
no,
it's all-
sleeping gas.
Oh,
They
okay.
call it
Sleeping gas. There we go. I was gonna.
I was trying to give it too much credit and apply it to a real world substance.
Yeah.
So sleeping gas and Jan's passes out, but somehow Hank is he's stronger because he's a man, so he doesn't pass out.
Well, Jan also in this issue is
she's sick, I
battling the
think.
flu.
Yeah, she's battling the flu, so she actually has a little bit of leeway here.
Yeah, this case it's not just blatant misogyny that she passes out first, because when you're sick, your constitution is weaker.
No, that's fair. No, I just forgot about that for a second.
And despite what I ended up thinking when I read this, it was not just an excuse to write Jan out for the important parts of the story. Because that's what I was getting ready to complain about.
Yeah. We then see Porcupine has in fact made it into the burglar-proof bank, and he has taken a shitload of money. So he jumps. Oh, he has a jetpack on, I guess, because
he has jet spines on the back.
Oh, perfect. That makes sense.
Gotta live the gimmick, brother.
I love this guy. Hank gets Jan woken up, and they suit up as the Ant-Man and Wasp once again. They get they learn that Porcupine's already looted the bank, because, I mean, you guys took forever to get to it, so. And then Hank immediately puts Jan on bed rest after this. And
There's
Jan's not very happy about it.
There's a great panel of her pouting in bed.
Oh, that's a beautiful panel.
She's just wrapped up in a blanket with the perfect pout face on.
I'm saving that one.
I'm gonna go get a university degree. I should be back before you finish this, Ryan.
So we see the Porcupine up to some more shenanigans, and Ant-Man has his ants on guard and gets a location. And we have a dog that almost gives up Ant-Man. That's a little bit of a funny situation. The Porcupine captures Ant-Man momentarily and throws him into a full bath in hopes that he'll drown. But joke's on you, the Wasp is still around, and she gets a message from Hank and immediately comes to save him. So Jan is the real hero here of today's issue. Then Hank gets the brilliant idea, seeing some containers of liquid cement, of how they're going to deal with Porcupine. So they set some traps up, they get some bags all set up and ready, and they wait for the Porcupine to enter the room, and they shoot a shitload of liquid cement onto him, so he can't fully function. But he actually does end up escaping, and says he'll be back, so hell yeah. And the issue ends with some casual misogyny as Hank, Jan says, oh, because Hank's getting all dad-like on her and being like, oh, you don't...
thanking her for rescuing him from certain death, he puts her back to bed and gives her antibiotics so she doesn't get the flu again.
You don't want a relapse of the flu, and she's like, Henry Pym, I hate you. And then Hank's like I always say, you can't please a female.
That's a good sentiment, Jan. Hang on to that. Your life would be much better.
Yeah. So that was only 13 pages, believe it or not, Dan. What do you think of the Porcupine? Really wrapping your brain around it.
Well, Dan's trying to push his brains back in through his ears.
Yeah.
This was a 2-star story.
I gave a 3 because I'm a Porcupine mark.
It's a 2. It's really a 2.
The Porcupine is too entertainingly dumb to give it a 1, but this is not a good story.
Yeah, he is entertaining, I will say that. He is an entertaining bad guy, but wow, he belongs more in like a Bugs Bunny cartoon or something. Should be fighting Scrooge McDuck, right? You know, not out there fighting, a theoretically serious superhero.
I mean, he escapes, so that
more speaks to Hank's incompetence than Porcupine's competence.
That's what I mean.
Dad, have it, that wascally Porcupine.
And he'll be back in only 5 issues.
Yes, issue 53. Let's fucking go.
This time they'll send in Elmer Fudd to take him out.
Wouldn't that be a hell of a crossover?
Yeah.
I obviously it's really a 2-star issue. I literally just gave it an extra star for Porcupine, so I can admit that freely. I'm fine with that. I'm a little I'll let my bias come through this time.
Yeah, you weren't winning that argument if you tried to defend that it was actually a full 3-star comic.
No,
I'm 2.2.
I'm not that foolish. I'm not that foolish. Anyway, let's move on to the Strange
It's
Tales.
objectively the worst comic we covered. Subjectively, I hated the Fantastic Four more.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair.
So on we go, The Strange Tales number 114, our last comic of the day, but we have two stories in it. So the first one is the Human Torch story, of course, everybody's favorite. This is actually a surprisingly good Human Torch story, though, so we're in for a little treat.
Really?
This is just a solid week of comics, to be fair. We have the Human Torch meets Captain America. With a twist. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Oh, Jack Kirby's on this one. That's interesting.
You can tell by the
Cap's
cover.
Kirby's boy.
I know. It makes sense why he would be. I
Yeah,
forgot.
like Kirby's the one that created Cap. He's going to show up when they're bringing him back.
Oh, yeah. Dick Ayers on inks here. Jack Kirby does the cover. You can tell. And Sam Rose in his own letters. August 1963 release. This is a whole 18 pages of story this time. If Torch gets more story, because Cap is here.
They brought out the A-Team for this story. That's why it's a good story instead of the normal, just whoever's currently in the doghouse in the bullpen gets stuck on Human Torch.
Oh, yeah. No, they brought out the big guns for this. So, Dan, this is yours.
Really? You're giving me freaking Captain America.
No,
and
it's
Human Torch.
It's Torch.
And Captain America.
Torch.
So you're not just going to punch me in the face. You're going to kick me in the nads in the process. That's awesome.
Don't worry. It's not really Captain America. Actually, it's probably a Captain America you might enjoy more.
I was going to say, well, the bad news is the synopsis for this is 6 lines. It's like
maybe I should
brutally
take this one,
short. Well, hold on. What's the next? The B story is the return of omnipotent Baron Mordo.
Yeah.
That's about 6 lines as well. So I may as well
And that's
take.
a 5-page story.
Okay, why don't you do this one, Bill, and I'll take the next one because I can't do it justice.
That's fine.
All right, so this story opens with Sue and the Torch training in the backyard, and Johnny's friends just run out in front of the human flaming meteor because they're idiots. They hang out with Johnny Storm. And they're all excited because Captain America is coming to town and he's making a public appearance at the antique car show. So they go to the antique car show, and Johnny's hanging around in the soot because some other superhero is going to show up and steal his thunder. And this isn't me shitting on Johnny Storm. He's actually pouting because Captain America's decided to show back up. And just then a bunch of crooks and some sort of dragster show up. And not sure exactly what they're doing. They've just got a gun. They're waving it around, driving really fast through the crowd. And so Johnny flames on and starts chasing them. But all of a sudden, Captain America cuts in and starts chasing them as well. And now, if you're really attentive and have read a lot of comics from the 30s and 40s, Cap doesn't look quite right. But it could just be that they were rushed drawing his costume. But I don't remember him ever having a belt to hold up his shorts.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, Johnny melts the roadway, and the crook's car sinks into it, and their gun gets all covered with melted asphalt, but somehow no one gets burned. And Captain America starts getting ready to pummel the crooks, and he starts yelling at Johnny for making a big mess and how he didn't need any help. And so he gets really mad, and he flips some melted asphalt at Johnny. And so Johnny throws fireballs at him. And while they're fighting, the crooks wade away. But they run immediately into a bunch of cops with guns and get arrested. And the mayor is like, well, we can't just leave our star attraction stuck out surrounded by mud. But before they go rescue him, Captain America jumps on a hook of a nearby crane and swings to the rest of the crowd, and they all cheer for how amazing he is, and Johnny sulks off home because he's not the biggest star anymore. And he's sitting at home talking with a mysteriously brown-haired Sue about how miserable it is that everyone else loves Captain America more than him while he reads the newspaper about how Captain America is better than him. And, oh no, this is Doris. Sorry, that makes more sense why she's consistently brown-haired. Jack Kirby Faces got me again. I literally thought this was Sue. Anyway, Johnny continues to sulk while Doris talks about how Captain America is a real man. She's much more impressed with him and how he doesn't get angry and flame on and catch her linoleum on fire, which may or may not have happened at the same time. And so Johnny decides that he's going to go show up Captain America and win back the town's love. And we cut over to Captain America, who's heading across the rooftops on some sort of errand. And he ends up right in front of the window to the jail cell where those crooks that were arrested earlier are.
Let me guess.
And he gives them some acid, and they use it to melt the bars and get out of their cell. And he helps them climb down the wall of the building and loads them into a car.
And then whispers Hail Hydra in their ears?
Possibly, yes.
Okay.
It's not real overt. And they take off driving and making a big scene, so all the police start chasing them. And Johnny sees this, so he starts chasing them as well. And the crooks are all disappointed that Torch has shown up. And he burns the wheels off their car while they're on top of a cliff. And so they leap out of the car as it goes over the cliff and land in the river below. So Johnny sets the surface of the water on fire until they give up.
Sorry, what?
And he sets the surface of the water on fire.
Okay, that's what I thought you said.
Yeah, you didn't mishear.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's back when
so
fire.
Now he can go beat up Namor?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's had the power to use fire and water for a little bit since they decided it was stupid to have him stop.
Don't you remember the issue where he boiled Namor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He boiled Namor and shot a blast of fire so deep into the ocean he set off an undersea
I
volcano.
think I was sick that night.
You might have been. It was in a Fantastic Four.
Realistically.
And so the cops show up and arrest the two guys again. Meanwhile, we cut over to Captain America, who's robbing a bank. And he gets away into some sort of airship with all the money. And Johnny shows up and starts trying to get Captain America on his weird helicopter airship thing. But it's got a rocket built into it, and he escapes in the rocket as Johnny destroys the rest of the airship. And Johnny starts trying to burn the rocket. So Captain America jumps out, but he's got a parachute. And he parachutes down and gets caught on a windmill on a theater marquee, and Torch burns him out of the parachute before he can capture him. So Captain America cartwheels away and goes into a sporting goods store and steals a mop.
Man.
And soaks it, loads it into a bow and arrow, and shoots Johnny with it, which extinguishes Johnny's flame because he can get it hot enough to light water on fire, but can't survive a hit from a mop.
The greatest way is
So Captain was just mopping him up.
Yes.
Okay.
And
a clean sweep.
Runs off while Johnny sits in a sulk surrounded by heat lamps trying to dry out.
We can't make this up. We really can't make this up.
And eventually he dries enough that he melts his way out of the handcuffs, and he flies out of the sporting goods store and sees Captain America trying to escape in a truck. And he dives at Captain America, and Captain America dodges him, and he goes back into the truck, and Captain America locks the door.
Man, this Cap sure is acrobatic.
Yeah, and we see inside that the entire interior of the truck is lined with asbestos.
Oh, shit! His one weakness.
But it's not a weakness because Johnny just burns hot enough that the air in the truck expands and blows out the door. And then he goes to where Cap is recovering the money from his wrecked airship and surrounds him in a ring of fire and rips his mask off. And oh shit, it's the acrobat from a couple of issues back. And so Johnny takes him and turns him over to the police, complete with evidence that it was the acrobat all along.
Kids, remember 8 issues ago?
Yeah, and we're left with Johnny wondering whatever happened to the real Captain America and will he ever return. I'd sure like to know. You guessed it, this story was really a test to see if you too would like Captain America to return. As usual, your letters will give us the answer.
And he never
Next issue, the Torch fights Spider-Man's old enemy, the Sandman. Don't dare miss it. The end.
And Captain America never returned.
We should be so lucky.
No, this was actually really good. I gave this 3 stars.
I gave this 3 stars as well. It's quite enjoyable.
It's
Even though
fun.
it's really, really obvious that it's not Captain America.
Yeah.
Because the fucking suit has a belt holding the pants up.
It isn't necessarily obvious, like, who it could be, although it kind of is when you look at the acrobatics, but it's not necessarily, like, the fucking acrobat was 8 issues ago. Like, who the fuck actually remembered that guy? Like,
Yeah,
so,
and, well, who also didn't look at next appearances
Exactly.
and realize immediately.
yeah, we spoiled it for ourselves.
Yeah, but, no, it was a good whodunit. Like, it was painfully obvious, even before he started doing criminal things, that Captain America wasn't Captain America. It might have worked on kids in the 60s who hadn't read the comics from the 40s and just, like, knew the image.
Yeah,
I
maybe.
do. I like the costume.
I really like how the costume is visibly enough wrong
Yeah,
that it's obvious, like the cowl doesn't quite fit right, and the
I like the prominence of red in the middle.
Yeah.
I think it's really nice.
it's really good, well done, and like the fact that he has a belt and stuff. They kind of screw it up on the cover because they draw him like he's actually Captain America,
Yeah,
but in the actual costume, like his shorts are red, and he's got this big belt on, and the cowl never looks like it fits properly on his face. And I think it's some of Kirby's best work to make it obvious that this costume isn't accurate.
Kirby was really on point with this issue. I will agree with that. He was doing some great stuff here.
Yeah. The only real big miss was giving Dory the exact same hairstyle as Sue, so it really looked like just a miscolored Sue.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, let us go to what is our main offense. The B story of Strange Tales, the return of the omnipotent
Baron Mordo. Which, oddly
any
enough,
changes to this? Well, Steve Ditko doing the art is the big change here. I guess Sam Rosen does letters, so yeah. August, yeah, same thing. So, yeah.
So somehow I ended up with the main event. It's odd, but okay.
Not on purpose.
Okay. Okay, synopsis for the return of the omnipotent Baron Mordo. Carl Mordo calls on Doctor Strange to ask for help.
Carl.
Well, that's what he's called, Carl.
I know.
Oh, you don't like the name Carl? You got a problem with that?
That's a great name.
Okay, I'm gonna have to call out the summary you're using right there because that kind of misses one of the major points at the beginning.
Okay.
It appears to be Sir Clive Bentley who appears and asks Strange for help.
Oh, that's the very
But
next
that's
sentence.
actually Okay, I was gonna say because that's actually Mordo in disguise.
Yeah.
If that's missed, it
No.
throws the whole story into a different light.
Yeah, no. So he calls on Doctor Strange for help, disguised as Strange's old friend, Dr. Clive Bentley, the man known for his luggage. Strange travels to Bentley's castle in England, paid for by the Bentley car, auto factory. Inside the castle, Strange is trapped by the paralyzing vapors of Mordo's magical candles. Ooh, nice. The Ancient One contacts Doctor Strange, but Strange wishes to overcome Mordo alone, because he's strange. He issues a mental command to a nearby girl to come to the castle and extinguish the candles.
Yikes.
Yeah. Let's just get some helpless child to come save me.
They say girl, but she's like 25.
Oh, okay. The girl is actually Victoria Bentley, daughter of Lord Bentley, who has been dead for 10 years. Mordo returns, attacking Strange with his mental powers, and orders Strange to kill Victoria, who possesses a latent mystical talent. Well, that's convenient. Just then, Strange arrives in his mortal form. It was only his projected image that had been in the castle until then, so why was he paralyzed if it was only his mental image? Explain that to me.
I mean, the
Was he-
vapors would work on the mind, so I suppose it would affect
Yeah, but his
a mind construct.
well, no, but his mind wasn't there. Like he
I
had no
think they're
corporal.
implying his mind was there, but not his body. It was like his spirit form.
His,
They're a little vague at this point on
Okay.
how that actually works.
okay. Anyway, it was only his projected image that had been in the castle until then. Strange and Mordo do battle in a mystical dimension until Mordo gives up and disappears. That's literally the entire synopsis.
Well, yeah, this is a 5-page story.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's actually pretty much it. The only thing it left off is at the end, Victoria wants to train under Strange.
Oh, I bet
But,
she does. Wah, wah, wah.
But Strange figures that the more she learns, the more Mordo will try to kill her. So instead of, so she can't train under him until the menace of Mordo is no more.
So he's no Mordo?
Yeah.
Oh, I knew you were going there.
You knew I was going to
God
do it.
damn it. I would have done it too. That's how I know.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, actually, this isn't a bad story. Be completely
This is
honest,
really
it's
good
not
for the
bad.
page count.
Yeah.
They didn't, because often with the 5-pagers, they get over ambitious and try to do too much.
Doctor
By
Strange has
keeping
been
this-
consistently good.
Yeah.
Yeah, by keeping the stakes low, this one's works much better, and it gave Ditko a chance to do some really inventive art.
Yeah. And,
Like, there's a great panel of Strange and Mordo just standing there staring at each other, and then you see kind of hazy above them this massive magical fight taking place between their mental constructs of themselves.
yeah. Well, it doesn't have 7 pages of filler in it. It's the thing.
No.
Most of these stories could be 5 pages,
Yeah.
but they just so much filler.
But then we would have missed the romance arc in Thor.
Yeah, because that's what I wanted. Instead, let's talk
Anyway,
about
this was a
Victoria
3-star
under
story.
Strange.
Right?
Don't worry about
What?
I gave this one 3 stars as well. Hey, if it's Cumberbatch, I can't blame her.
Oh, there you go. You're as bad as Moira. Benedict Cumberbatch. Whatever the hell his name is. No, you know what? It's not that bad a story. It's a nice change from the usual superhero crap. I don't want to say crap. That's not fair. The usual superhero, cut and paste routine.
Yeah, it's not formulaic. I think, is what you're going
yeah,
for.
it's different, and when using magic, kind of justifies some of the powers being used. Right, it's like it's what makes Thor work and Iron Man work is, Thor is a god. He's from Asgard, so of course he's going to have supernatural powers. Iron Man doesn't have supernatural powers. He just has his, AA batteries and a metal suit, and he uses them to great effect. Yeah, but some of these guys, their powers are magical.
Yeah.
Johnny's ability to take flames and turn them into anything.
Yeah, I'm not going to be sad when that power disappears.
Yeah, that's just silly.
And I think one of the best things about Doctor Strange is that he has a very defined power set, despite being magical. Other magical heroes around this time, it's just non-stop Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah.
Whatever they need to happen or think would be funny, the hero just wills it to happen, and it happens, and they never seem like they can be threatened.
Yeah.
Even though Strange is a magician, he has very defined powers he can use.
Yeah, he doesn't magically suddenly have other powers when needed to beat whatever threat the writer came up with. They don't just suddenly, oh, by the way, he can use his superpower to do this as well. Crap.
Yeah, and that's the first big step I notice in... Well, the first step in improving heroes was probably adding a supporting cast that actually evolves over time. And the second one was really defining down what their powers can actually do.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think it was that bad, to be honest.
That's a good review for me.
Well, again, I just like that it is different from the usual trope. And his powers are, as Bill said, his powers are fairly well defined. So, he's fighting against somebody with the same powers.
Indubitably.
So it's a battle of wills, not power, in the end, is what it turns out to be.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're done with that one. And there's
Yes, and that was our last one, so...
Just
Yeah.
before we move off it, I suppose we should mention key characters.
there is a bit of trivia here, just so you know. This is the first time the Ancient One appears under that name. Previously, he had been called the Master.
That's true.
Yep.
Right.
That is on our site as well. Of course, the most important appearance here is the Cloak of Levitation, who next appears in the next story. I'm an asshole for doing that, but Victoria Bentley does return as well in issue 160. But yeah,
He doesn't turn up again for a while. Mordo, however, turns up next issue.
yeah. Well, Mortal is this title's Loki, so which isn't a bad thing necessarily. Mortal is pretty good, but yeah.
And I mean, he's in a completely different context the next time we'll talk about him.
That's true. But yeah. So great. A pretty good solid lineup of stories this week, quite honestly. Next week we have a pretty decent lineup, I believe, as well. We decided on our lineup before we started today. We have Fantastic Four 20 going to start us off. X-Men issue number 2 finally. Amazing Spider-Man number 6, which is the one I'm looking forward to the most by a long shot. Journey
that
Mystery
was an
number...
excellent story.
Yes, I love that Spider-Man issue. Journey into Mystery number 98, A story and C story as we get more Tales of Asgard. And then we have Tales of Suspense number 47 going to end us off with the introduction of the Melter.
Yeah,
So-
this is another pretty solid week.
Pretty solid. I mean, I'd be
There's
willing to
one-
try.
ironic that the Melter is a solid week.
Oh, fuck. There's one story in this that I didn't like that much, but the rest of this is all good. That one story was about as good as that pun.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I was gonna say something that pun just threw me for a loop, so I haven't recovered. But it should be an interesting week next week, is what I'll say. I guess we should plug that we last week also did our bonus episode for the month, the MCU Phase 1 discussion. That was a fun time. Go check that and last week's episode out if you haven't watched that as well. Fun time. And next month's Crew 616 bonus episode, we are going to be doing we're going to be recommending 35 movies that you should watch around Halloween, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We have kind of thrown around with each other the movies that we're going to be talking about, and I'm excited for it. So
I'm excited
make sure to
too,
tune in.
actually, because we're going to try and give some suggestions as what would be good Halloween movies for everyone.
Yeah.
Different types for different people.
Exactly. So it should be a lot of fun. Anyways, do we have anything else that do either you guys want to say anything before we end this one off?
I want to say that I'm just not appreciated. My humor is brilliant. You guys suck.
Yeah, I shouldn't have let him speak.
Word.
Why did we bring him onto this podcast again?
All jokes aside, we do love Dan. He is a big contributor here. He gives us shitty jokes and takes us off topic. So
Sorry.
we're really happy to have him. And he hates on Spider-Man, so he really covers all the bases.
That's
so.
right.
Every good program needs a heel.
Oh,
That's true.
So if I'm the shoe, that means I'm the soul of the podcast.
Anyway, guys, I think on that note, we're going to end the episode. Leave a like, subscribe, comment, even share if you liked it. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Spotify,
If I
let
didn't
us...
want to create more editing headaches, I would have just hung up right there.
Yeah,
Tread
let
on
us...
my joke.
click which one's your favorite story is if you're on Spotify in the in the poll, and we are also available on Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts. Anyway, we will see you all later.
What a
And
heel.
peace out.
Have a good one, everyone.
Bye bye.